Hello, people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Mac with Mac Commentary and Bob. How are you doing this morning, Bob?
I'm doing okay, Mac. Thank you. How are you?
Doing good, Bob. I knew just in the last couple of days, matter of fact, Sunday night, former President Donald Trump said he had been told he is a target in the January 6th criminal investigation by special counsel Jack Smith. Now, we already know that Smith has criminally charged Trump with about 3 dozen crimes related to retaining classified documents when he left the White House. Trump also suggested in his tweet that he made that he may soon face indictment for the January 6th probe. And that is an interesting thing. And what this whole investigation about, Bob, is focused on Trump's efforts, they say, to overturn his loss in the 2020 election to President Joe Biden. So if the special counsel told him he's a target, so Trump feels like that once he goes to that, they want him to come before the grand jury. And once he goes there, which I don't think he's going to say anything before the grand jury, but what they want him to do is come there, and they are going to indict him, and they're going to arrest him, and that's what he and feels that's going to happen. And they say such letters like that are sent by the Department of Justice, Bob, to give people the chance to testify before a grand jury after the DOJ determines there is substantial evidence linking them to a crime. What Trump said on that was deranged Jack Smith, the prosecutor with Joe Biden's DOJ, sent a letter, again, it was Sunday night, stating that I am a target of the January 6th grand jury investigation and giving me a very short 4 days to report to the grand jury, which almost always means an arrest and indictment. Trump wrote on his Truth Social site. Actually, they will indict him first, and then they will arrest him, Bob, if that is what is going to happen. And he was given this, what he called the horrifying news on a Sunday evening by his lawyers. Nobody wanted to comment on this, Bob. I'm told from Smith's office. Now, this is now the other people involved in trying to get this loss overturned was people like Rudy Giuliani. He did not. He was not informed that anything was going to happen, nor was Bernard Kirkrick, the former New York City police commissioner who worked for Giuliani in the election reversal effort. So here we just have Trump hanging out there again because they're trying to get him out of the presidential run by doing these things, Bob. And, you know, you have some very interesting points of views on this. You stated that, and I agree with you, that they're after Trump because Trump made the statement that he was going to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C. And that's exactly what he had been trying to do. And a lot of people did not like that. He was going against the military industrial complex. He was stopping the wars. He was trying to make peace in the world, which it was happening. And you saw what happened. As soon as they got this thing going, next thing you know, Biden is in office. They want to do anything to try to stop the Russia invasion through diplomatic efforts. They just started sending weapons over there to Ukraine as soon as Russia attacked. They didn't try. They knew the reason for Russia wanting to attack Ukraine, but they did nothing because they caused it going back to 2014, Bob. And since they was part of the effort there under the Obama administration, and that's when Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden, they became very familiar with the Ukrainian authorities and businesses over there. And Biden traveled back and forth to Ukraine, and he somehow or another, based on what I've heard, and that's where he set things up for Hunter Biden to become to start having an association with business people and government officials in that country where he started to receiving money there. Now, Bob, what are your why do you think they are after Trump in such a vicious and like for instance right now Trump is he's under indictment for the classified documents as we stated. He's also been investigated by the United State of New York as well as in the city of New York, and he's also under investigation in Georgia for trying to uh, overturn that, reverse some of the elections there in the state of Georgia. So Trump has a lot on his plate when it comes to being investigated and being on for criminal activities. So how do you take a look at this, Bob?
Well, thanks again for inviting me on your show. As you pointed out at the outset, this guy, Jack Smith, the prosecutor, I think I read somewhere where he's got 30 or 40 counts against Trump. And he only needs one count. Conviction on one count. And if that one count is 10 to 20 years, what does he need with the other 30, 35? Because Trump is 75 years old, I think. So if he puts him in there for 10 years, he'd be 85 when he got out if he lived through it. But I think that that guy Jack Smith works for Joe Biden. He's a prosecutor. He works for the
Attorney
General.
Yeah.
And the Attorney General works for Trump, up for Biden. And so therefore, Smith works for Biden. So to me, this is a case of, and I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just looking at it from the eyes of a layman. This is a situation where the boss doesn't want to run against this guy that could overturn his presidency, kick him out of office. And if he did, he might then indict Biden. And Biden would be in the same situation then that Trump is now, because he wouldn't have the protection of the presidency where he can cover up all of the, as you were pointing out, the thefts and the various financial chicanery that he and his family have been indulging in since he's been in public office. They become multimillionaires on a check or a salary where most middle class people now live, let's say $180,000, $200,000 a year, where you don't get mansions on the beach, Corvettes in a garage, and those kinds of things that rich people get. People that make 500,000 to $1 million, 3 or 4 million a year. That's what his family and he have been making since he's been in office. So when I look at this, I see it as a situation where the boss has got his pit bull out here trying to take out a competitor who's threatening his existence, and he's going to make sure that that happens. And the reason I say that is because this guy Jack Smith, they asked him, "Well, can't you postpone the election until after the election? I mean, the indictment until after the election." Oh no, it's got to happen right now. You can't. We can't wait. Well, I mean, uh, if you're so sure you're going to win, what is a month or two going to mean in terms of your person that you're trying to convict going to be to him or to you? No, what you're trying to you are doing exactly what you are charging ex-President Trump with doing, obstructing an election, and that's what I see happening.
Well, well, that's definitely the way to look at things, Bob, from that perspective. And I see that a lot of people, they don't quite understand what's happening here. Like you pointed out that, hey, Biden now has the seat of power, so he can get his handlers, or not handlers, but his people that he has working underneath him, his subordinates, and have them to do whatever he see fit, and they would do it unquestionably because they are so loyal to him. And I,
Well, loyal to their paycheck.
yeah, right. And so I look and their paychecks comes in not just in what they are getting from the government, but it comes in all other areas too. Once they leave government, you know. But
That's right. That's why they call it a swamp.
yeah, right. And you look at Biden and what things that he's done, like I alluded to earlier, how they traveled over there to Ukraine, how his son, uh, you know, was doing things over there, and nobody's taking notice of that. And there's even a congressional memorandum that was came out in March 16th of this year, Bob, from the Committee on Oversight and Accountability Majority Staff, and was sent to the Committee on Oversight and Accountability members. And it stated that on February 27, 2023, Chairman Comer, now Comer is I believe he's a senator or congressman rather, out of let me see, where is he from? Kentucky, Republican. He's the chairman of that committee out of Kentucky. And the commission raised the point that in this memorandum that Democrats described our subpoena when they subpoenaed information relative to the Bidens. They said notably on March 1st, 2017, less than 2 months after Vice President Joe Biden left the office, public office, State Energy HK Limited, a Chinese company, wired $3 million to Rob Walker's company. The next day, the company wired $1,065,000 to a company associated with James Gilliard, another Biden family associate. Afterwards, the Biden family received approximately $1,065,000 in payments over a 3-month period in different bank accounts. From the bank records, it appears that the Biden family received approximately 1/3 of the money obtained from the China wire. And that's what the oversight was looking at, because his memorandum was revealing new evidence resulting from the investigation to the Biden family influence, peddling, and business schemes. Subpoena financial records show that from 2015 to 2017, Biden family members, Hunter Biden, James Biden, Haley Biden, and an unknown Biden and their companies collectively received $1.3 million in payments from accounts related to this Rob Walker, as I stated, a Biden family associates. Now, as I was stating earlier, Chairman James Comer, Republican Kentucky, issued the following statement on this new evidence of the Biden family's suspicious business transactions. He stated, Democrats described our subpoena as providing nothing more than records for Papa John's and Starbucks. But they failed to mention the records we received documenting the Biden's family business schemes. Over the course of several years, members of the Biden family and their companies received over $1.3 million in payments from accounts related to their associate, Rob Walker. Most of this money came as a result of a wire from a Chinese energy company and went not only to Hunter and James Biden, but also to Haley Biden and an unknown Biden. It is unclear what services were provided to attain this exorbitant amount of money. The Oversight Committee, he continued, is concerned about the national security implication resulting from President Biden's family receiving millions of dollars from foreign nationals. We will continue to follow the money trail and facts to determine if President Biden is compromised by his family business schemes and if there's a national security threat. And Bob, I have a copy of that memorandum that was sent. I can give the link to that particular memorandum, that if anybody want to go and they can pull it up, they can take a look at it. And the reason I bring this all out, Bob, is to make the comparison here. Where are the media when it comes to investigating real potential crimes like this here with the Biden family member and stuff and they're trying to pull up because Trump had a problem with the election, that it was being rigged like in a third world country or something. And I mean, of course, that's how the third world learned how to do it, but because America invented corruption, right? I'm just bringing up something, and another thing here, Bob, is and I find it so hard why so many people, especially people in the minority, if you want to, if you will, community, have so much faith in everything with Biden. I'm gonna play a little video, Bob. Let's just watch this.
If you have a piece of crack cocaine no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, 1/4 of $1, we passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice. Under our forfeiture statutes, the government can, take everything you own. Everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction that you've just got caught engaging in. They can take everything. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society. They are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families. So I don't want to ask, what made them do this? They must be taken off the street.
Wow, Bob, I tell you, you know, that that is a telling sign. Like, first of all, how can so many people support a president who sent so many of their people to prison for having, as he states, that little bit amount of crack cocaine and forfeit? A lot of people's lives were upset during that period of time, Bob, along with the, as some people call him, the first black president, Bill Clinton, who also was instrumental in coming up with the 3 strikes and you out, and that same bill, crime bill. And during that time, Bob, that's when a lot of weapons, equipment and military equipment went to the police throughout these United States, Bob. And ever since then, the black cities, and not only the blacks, the poor areas, whether whites live there or blacks or whoever lived there, they were devastated by the military-style police. And yet people continue to support this particular president, yeah, and go back and vote for him. And then this whole country, Bob, is being turned upside down by these Democrats, Bob. And I'm not a Republican. And I'm going to show you another video, Bob, that came to my mind. Now, this is this particular video here is is related to the Appalachians, okay? And here it shows you how people vote for what they believe in, Bob, and for what their interest. And in this particular case, let's watch this.
Monument. It was down here to Mouth Holler, and they moved it.
Moved it up right
up
that
the
white
road.
church right up from me yard.
Yeah.
So do you guys, I mean, you talk about it all the time. You live, you eat, and breathe it, right, Cole?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only thing keep us going, you know.
Yeah.
Mine's just like being at home to me. You know, when I worked every day, just like being at home. You know, the mine's really safe from what it is out here. You could get killed with a car or airplane.
This is a man and his young son. Both of them were killed down here in this mines.
So you were saying when Biden came in, he tried to shut the mines down, his policies?
Well, they talk about Manchin and Biden is against the coal. If we don't get somebody in there for the coal, everybody be losing 100,000 jobs around here.
So no, it's interesting. I looked in McDowell County, the voter records. It was very blue here, like 70% Democrat, and then it just changed the last couple of elections to hard red.
Yeah, Republican.
Because of the policies, right?
Yeah.
So whatever policies support coal, you're going to vote for that guy.
Yeah, Trump,
Yeah.
Trump for the coal,
Yeah.
and Jim Justice for the coal, you know.
Yeah.
And if we get somebody in there want to go windmills or gas, everybody be out of job around here.
Yeah. What would you do if you didn't have coal?
Well, if we didn't have coal, everybody be hurting because they got to make steel with that coal. And, you know, a lot of things they make with coal. And if we don't keep the coal, they ain't going to have no coal to make steel stuff with.
So you can't make steel with gas, natural gas, or oil, right? You have to make it with coal?
Yeah, you have to make it with coal. Something, you know, burn hot coal. Natural gas ain't going to make metal.
Well, Bob, I mean, that was just to show you how these particular people here, that's a poor region of America, and how they vote their interests. At one time, like the guy pointed out, he checked the records that it was 70% Democrat. But they say, oh, well, I see now you guys are the red states, you're Republican. He said, yeah, we have to vote our interest based on what the policy is of the government. And I just have to bring this up, Bob, is do you see that happening, and why isn't it happening in the black community?
Well, because we're lost, because we're ignorant. The Negroid in America, as I stated before, is the biggest hole America's got. Our interest would be voting for reparations. But will we vote for reparations? No, because our politicians, these buffoons that we send to Washington, don't stand up and talk like a Negroid should talk. They stand up and talk like the Caucasoid tells them to talk. They bark when the Caucasoid says bark, and they charge when the Caucasoid says charge, and they bite when the Caucasoid says bite. But when it comes to barking and charging and biting for their own interests, reparations, they don't have no bite. They don't have no bark. They don't have no charge. So I fault ourselves with that. I mean, we're lost because we're ignorant. Just like Dr. Tolson told us years ago, our people are lost because we're ignorant and we haven't changed. That was over 50 years ago when he told me and several of my classmates that fact. And here it is 50 years later and we're still ignorant. That Caucasoid and his wife or that lady that was with him, that's the way they do, and that's what they should do. What is your interest in this, Bob? Well, I got a 5 cent. It's $1 out there on the table, and 5 cents of that dollar belongs to me. So I'm gonna try to protect that dollar. But if I got a big interest, and here we got 100% interest in reparations, and we don't even vote for it. Don't care whether it's 5% or 10% or 100%. We don't push our politicians to vote to put legislation on the floor or in the country that would help us. And I fault us with that. I mean, you can't blame that on racism. You
No,
blame that on stupidity and ignorance.
well, you can see right here, Bob, these two people here in that particular video there, from the West Virginia there, they are poor part of the country. I'm not calling them poor. He's retired, just like people I know who are retired, and they seem to be enjoying their retirement. But this is, but they still vote for their interest. And black people, many are poor, yet they don't act like these poor people. And like if you, and especially since you have done a lot in this country for your ancestors have, and by you being a descendant of slaves, you should be out there fighting for that reparation and jumping up and down and saying that you want to be paid now. It's been long enough, 200 years of suffering, well, 200 as a slave, your people, and you suffered over 100 years, Bob, as a as a descendant of a slave through, if you lived through the Jim Crow era. And right now, it's still bad for many blacks right now. And because I can't and I get that's another for another day, and we'll get into that a little bit more, Bob. I just wanted to bring some points here relative to how differently Trump is treated and how differently Biden is treated, and no one, and how the people voting in this country here, how they look at things, and their perspective as to how they look at Trump and how they look at Biden, and what the things and what Biden has done to people of color during his younger days there in the Senate. I mean, and then he comes along right now, and I don't see him doing anything for blacks now. He doesn't even want to push the agenda for the reparations. Matter of fact, his vice president stated she doesn't. She thinks something should be done, but she don't think that that blacks should basically get any reparations. Is what she was saying, Bob. And so that we
Right.
come, so we come back to this here question here. I mean, at least Trump he made the statement during his previous election when he which he lost. I mean, his run for the presidency, second term. He made the statement. He told the blacks, he said, "What? Vote for me. What have you got to lose?" And I mean, Bob, that was a poignant question. What have you got to lose? Because you haven't gained anything with the uh, Democrats. I mean, look at the destruction of our community. Look at the destruction of our family in this country through what they have promoted. The homosexuality, the LGBTQ, the rap, and the degradation, denigration and degradation of the race itself through that genre of music, so-called music. What have we got to lose? We got a lot to gain if you take up and you go and you tell these particular politicians, say, we'll vote for you. What's your policy on reparations? What's your policy on education? But if you give us reparation, we can get our education. And that's and if they don't have a policy on anything like on a reparation, Bob, then we take it over to a candidate, might be in another party, and say, let's go with this and put our votes over there and just let them go out there, and they're not going to win,
Right.
And that way we can divide all of them up, if all of us stuck together like that. And I remember back in the day, Bob, when we used to vote what we call block voting, but they don't do that anymore. Nobody talks about that. They just Democrats. Like the Democrats are doing so much for them, but yet they are destroying their communities with Planned Parenthoods, with homosexuality, and it's rampant. Not only are they doing it with to blacks, they're doing it to whites as well. It's something is terribly wrong in this country, Bob. And they want to go after the African countries, but the African countries are the savior of sanity. And it has been proven, Bob, that insanity, and I heard this, and I will show that on another video from a member of parliament in Ghana. He gave an eloquent talk on that. These were facts based on research, scientific facts, sociological facts, psychiatric facts. And he gave those facts, Bob. So my question now, Bob, is, and we cut this short here, is, can Trump still become president if he's convicted of a crime or found liable in a civil case based on everything that's going after him?
Well, what they're trying to get him on, and if you look at the, I think it's the 13th Amendment, they're trying to get him on insurrection, obstruction of justice, obstruction of an election, and insurrection. And it says in the Constitution, and that was put in there because of the Confederate Civil War. If you were involved in insurrection, you can't be elected to the presidency. And that's what they're trying to get him on. Whether or not they'll be able to pull it off, I'm beginning to think they will. I don't know if they'll get him on insurrection, but I think they'll get him, and I think he'll get convicted, and I think they'll get him on at least one count, and I think he'll end up in prison, and I think he'll be reelected while he's in prison. If they don't get him on insurrection, because if they get him on insurrection, he won't even be able to run. And if he gets convicted, I think he'll pardon himself and he'll get out and he'll go after the Bidens, just like the Bidens have come after him these last 7 years. 3 years under Biden and 4 years under his own term when Biden was vice president to Barack Hussein Obama.
Right. Well, I mean, this, not taking into consideration what you're saying, otherwise, before that, I guess that this potential indictment and arrest that's coming up occurs, and if he's indicted on that, the short answer was he can still become a president if he's convicted of a crime or found liable in a civil case. That's the short answer, yes, according to some experts. Now, I don't know. Like you said.
Oh, you're correct about that. The only thing that would prevent him from being elected president is because these other crimes are not a part of the Constitution.
Right.
Insurrection is in the Constitution.
Right. Okay.
So he could get reelected under those various counts that this guy Jack Smith is trying to get him on. But if he gets convicted under insurrection, he wouldn't be able to be reelected because it states clearly. I forget. I think it was the 13th Amendment.
No, it's the 14th Amendment, Bob. I want to correct you.
Okay, the 14th Amendment.
Yes, yes, which states in the.
So, and that was not there. They put that in there because of the Civil War.
Right. They said in the wake of the January 6th attack on the Capitol, some House Democrats introduced a bill seeking to bar Trump from holding office again by invoking the 14th Amendment, which bars anyone who has engaged in insurrection or rebellion or given aid or comfort to enemies of the United States after having taken an oath to support the Constitution. That bill never made it out of the House before Republicans took control in January, Bob. So that's why they've come up with this particular indictment now.
Right, exactly. That's my point.
I mean, they tried everything to do to keep Trump out of there, but they want to make Trump out to be a madman, but the madmen are already in office, Bob. I mean, look at
Mac, I got another circumstance that's come up, man.
Yeah, right. I can understand that, Bob. And so I want to thank you for taking the time today. I want to thank people for coming on and listening. And don't forget to subscribe and like. Appreciate your comments as well. And Bob, I want you to have a great day, man, and we'll talk to you soon.